Bren here. Today, I wanted to share with you the importance of not to default to consensus or peer pressure or so-called groupthink, because this is gonna distort your judgment. And if you really wanted to advance your life, these are just all distractions. So consensus feels right because we are social beings. Whatever the feels like majority picks, seems like that's the right things to do. But you really have to always think like what majority approves, right? Or agrees. Is that always that the right things to do, or is it the truth? It's not, because we tend to reduce frictions, right? Rather than having a conflict to reach to some sort of like a truth that can be inconvenient to the harmony of such a group. And I want you to think like when you're in a certain group, like your friendship, like your friends, a bunch of groups, right? And then you might want to go out, you wanted to get invited to the party, or if you hosting the party, you might want to have a lot of people come in, and then they want to, you don't want to feel lonely or ostracized or excluded because you feel like your fun or social status attached to those kind of groups. But when it comes to, and I understand that those are important, and then somehow you don't want to be always the guy that says something that completely off, and it becomes very annoying. That's not what I'm trying to say. It is the certain important things, like maintain your integrity. Like disagreement is okay, and then it's very healthy, and then you should always have certain sort of disagreement, but you don't have to voice it. That's what I'm trying to say. To maintain a good social situation, if something you disagree, you don't have to say, "Oh, I disagree," and then you always have to confront. That's a bad manner. That's all. But then the danger comes when you are, just because you wanted to make the other people feel better, you actually start agreeing with their ideas, and then you lower your critical thinking, or you stop thinking about it, and then you just go for it, and then you get that social reward, like, oh, you're a nice person, you're caring, whatever, and then you just got sucked into it. And oftentimes group thinking is, by nature, it's got to be simple, just because if it's complicated, not actually many people, that not all people can actually get it. So to have a coherence in a group, the idea have to be simple. And then the truth is not that simple. It sounds simple, but it has a nuances and complexities. And then it's a context dependent all the time. And if you look at like a second degree, third degree consequences, most of the sounds good ideas are irrelevant. It becomes completely nonsense. And often it's going to be harmful. When somebody agrees like everything, I want you to be the one, be skeptical. And then you don't have to say, voice that, oh, I disagree or something. Just, smile. Maybe, if the group start believing some strange things, maybe you say something a little politely, get their reaction, and then maybe stay away. Maybe it's time that then you have to upgrade your groups. So peer pressure is another thing, right? Peer pressure it's basically like, as a group, you have to have some kind of activities, and then to do the activities, people have to do the similar kind of things. And then if you don't do it, then that group cannot really do the fun thing or some kind of exciting thing, so they will pressure you to conform. It's hard to actually, you might be actually thinking like, okay, you know what, I'm smart, like I'm very intelligent, like really great in school or like a work situation, and then you might be able to get on with it. But then eventually, this is the funny part of the human mind, is like eventually you can't really tell the fiction or truth if you actually get into it, like inside of the group. means it's like your standard, and then your worldview will start go lower to the more like a fantasy land. And then generally speaking, if somebody is like really pushing for the peer pressure, then that means like that type of group's mentality is based on fantasies. It's not really based on the reality. Any kind of group that actually appreciate the reality or truth is actually pretty confrontational in a good way. It's like every day, each one of the group members, they challenge their ideas so that then it gets better. So their focus is more of the betterment of their judgment, the betterment of their knowledge, and so forth. But most of the groups are not like this. They're more like a kind of like a cocktail things, like having fun and then telling each other how great you are, right? And then that type of things, it gets really, really dangerous if you stay within it and then you are not critical enough. That's echo chamber is gonna get like worse and worse. So basically, echo chamber is like you only hear, or groups start just talking about it. Like nobody wants to offend each other or out of line. That then they only talk things that are super safe. And then clearly, like if you say something like a great thing about the other person, then everybody likes each other. So that's what they do. And then the idea becomes more like, how much feelings of goodness you are projecting. So projecting towards the world, like, there's a bunch of world hunger and then we got to do something like that. It's like a lot of it's a great aspiration. But then if you have that kind of aspiration in it, I'll tell you this. If you really want to make the world better place, then go work your ass off and then donate half of your money. Even 20% is like admirable. A lot of like the volunteer organization are scams. Unfortunately, that's what it is. So I'm not really suggesting to just donate, but then let's say spend your 20% of your time or resources to go outside and talk to like somebody that you actually care. If you care about some kind of world hunger, then go in and see, but then be careful. The problem is people who are naive don't think they're naive. If they think they're naive, if they know, then they will correct themselves. So I would just say, if you are willing to do that, make sure that then you be careful. The thing is probably a lot of people, like good people, just got into the trouble. But only one wrong man or woman you meet when you try to help somebody, then your life will be negatively, dramatically altered. And I want you to avoid that. So be careful. When you're talking about like within the group, like ideas and slogans and then, all these things, making yourself each other, that's not really in danger of yourself. When you actually try to change the world to the better place, that's where actually real work comes in, and then the real danger is actually happening. So just watch out. So what do you get out of this if you're not really having consensus? So what's the like a good measurement here? I want you to really understand is that what sounds right, the most of the case, is completely different than what works in reality. Until you understand, if you cannot understand this concept, means it's like whatever sounds great doesn't makes the world worse or doesn't work. If you don't have that connection ready, then you got a lot of things to think about or study or research. I have there is a lot of cases, a lot of good people lose their time and resources just because they got caught up in sound good ideas. You got to understand, scams and the deception always works because they sound great. So I want you to have a great bullshit detector and then research yourself, find your facts on your own, and then make your own judgment. At least if you make your own judgment, right? Then you're responsible for your judgment. And then you go out the world, if you make mistake, you just correct. Faster you can correct your mistakes, the faster you can improve your life. And that's hard. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. Like everybody get one way or the other deceived in life. Once, if something is wrong, it's better to say, okay, last 5 years of my life, I was wrong. Then tomorrow is much better than, or you will risk doing that for the next 10 years. So, yeah, if you feel pressure, right? If you just wanted to belong to a group, if you wanted to just feel like keep peace within the group, then that's not the time you're going to seek your truth, okay? It's somewhere else. So just stay grounded in evidence and always watch for somebody's incentives. That's important. You always want to watch. There's always a fox in your group, or wolves. You always want to know what they want from you, okay? And then never really seek popularity. That's a bad idea. Those like external, the validation you will seek, unless it's a strategic things, right? Like if you're doing it for the business purposes, it's focus on what you really want to do and then focus on your truth. But then be careful that then your truths have to be really examined by the reality. So be honest. You never, ever lie to yourself. That's the important thing. As long as you're honest to yourself, if you do that, then these type of group thinking or peer pressure or consistency, none of them really matters. And then your life is going to get a lot better. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and write in the comment section your ideas to help each other. And I will see you next week.